What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Outfielder podcast, episode 120, presented by Sensibly Loud Media. I am your host, J-Mac, a.k.a. Founder Numero Uno, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Popfly himself, Founder Numero Dos, Ben.
Don't sleep on Minnesota.
Baseball, Ben, what's going on, my man?
Hello, and it is once again that time of year when we can say do not sleep on Minnesota. Maybe, perhaps.
I would say that's incredibly relevant just in general right now.
Just all of it. Just when in doubt, Minnesota's in play.
Like baseball-wise, socially, all of the above. Just don't leave out Minnesota. Like, don't treat Minnesota like we treat Pittsburgh. It's not good. It's not going to work out well.
Yeah, land of 10,000 lakes can easily become land of 10,000 go hose yourself. So let's be careful.
Absolutely. Well, no Great Sambino this evening. He was having internet issues because I was watching the news just before we got on, and I guess there's like I don't know if it's a hurricane or a pretty big tropical storm that was hitting the East Coast down towards that area. Yeah,
I don't know if it's hit yet. Like, it's one of those things where when you're living in a global pandemic, other news stories just don't tend to hit you. So normally I'd be like, oh, hurricane, Eastern Seaboard, let's pay attention to this. In this case, not really. I don't know if it's hitting today or yesterday or like 3 Tuesdays from now. It's unclear. But yeah. Sam, potentially in a hurricane's path, definitely having internet issues. Still a great guy.
Wouldn't it be great if it were like that episode of The Simpsons where like it was like Flanders' house, where Sam's house was like the only one that got taken out?
Yes.
It wouldn't be great, but it would be a great story nonetheless, you know?
It would be crystal clear. Well, we're definitely going to bring it to you hot, even without Sam. So, J-Mac, how you been doing? What are your thoughts on the good old baseball?
I'll answer those questions one at a time. The first question, how am I doing, is okay. I think doing about as well as anybody else could be doing in a global pandemic. And I think we've kind of been over that on the show as far as like what we've been up to, because that's all we've had to talk about. I'm really, really sad a little bit, I guess. It's made me realize that, like, so I was looking just at our memories and stuff like that. I saw on Facebook and whatnot. A year ago, we were actually at the Rockies game in Denver for the Outfielder trip. And it makes me really sad that we're not doing that this year.
I know. When we talked about it in like January and February, we were like, oh yeah, we're going to go to New York this year, or we're going to talk about, maybe Pittsburgh, some of the other NL cities that we weren't going to hit, like tons of great ideas. And I think at one point we may have even made a joke in like January and be like, oh, who knows if that virus is going to hit us? Ha ha ha. Look at how funny we are. Only to realize we were wrong.
Didn't go great.
Did not go great.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, to be fair, I don't think anybody really saw that. I mean, we can have that debate all day long, but I mean, as far as all that stuff goes, I mean, we'd geared up to have just a regular season, and it has been anything but that.
You know who probably would have predicted it? This is a Simpsons tie-in, because we'll talk about that in just a moment, but the guy from The Simpsons who played Phoebe's boyfriend in Friends, who was like the research scientist in Russia, that guy, he would have predicted this. Hank Azaria, where are you? You would have kept us safe.
Indeed. Brockmeyer himself, actually.
Yes, exactly. No, and the other tie-in is it was on the Denver trip. I actually reshared the video on the Sensibly Loud main Facebook page today, is when Jimmy and I got to jump into Sensibly Loud Radio and share our Simpsons top 10.
I actually just went back and listened to that episode and the episode of Sensibly Loud Radio when we talked about our travel stories on the way in, because I completely forgot about me missing my flight and everything until I saw the blog.
I will never forget you missing your flight.
I was so angry, and I was like, I wrote that blog. I was just like reading back through it. And I'm like, I was so angry when I wrote this.
Like one of the top 5 angriest I've ever seen, J-Mac. And my favorite part is because I will never miss an opportunity to say I told you so. Is like the day before, I was like, when are you getting to the airport, bud? Need me to call you or text you in the morning?
Nope.
And he was like, what am I, 11?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely like me to kind of throw something like that to the wind and then actually accidentally fuck it up.
It was great. It was wonderful. So if you get a chance, go back, check out that content. We're going to be sharing some of it. But yeah, we caught a Mad Bum. It was a Mad Bum Giants start from Mile High Stadium, or Coors Field. Mile High was the football one, yeah.
Yes.
But Coors Field is a Mile High, so whatever.
The one thing that we never got to, and honestly, it's on me for never editing it. This is a little bit behind the curtain stuff for the listeners, but we made a really cool video while we were there that we never got to edit. And then you and I were going to sit down and edit it for the season, like going into this season. And then once again, said pandemic happened. And here we are. So we may need to get to that at some point. If we can ever be in the same room again, that would be nice.
I'm not going to hold my breath unless we're in the same room. Then I'm going to hold my breath. No, absolutely. We still have ideas. I mean, we have a produce video we can't wait to share with everyone at some point, which was supposed to kick off this season start in like late March. So anyway, more to come from your boys here at Sensibly Loud Media.
Exactly. It's good stuff, man. And I think it was really good content that we never really got around to getting out in time. And then baseball kind of ended, and it kind of went from there. So we had a lot of stuff going on, and so we'll get to it. I think it's still great stuff. It definitely is evergreen content that that's going to age really well.
Yeah. Speaking of baseball, we said baseball got stopped. What about now? Is there baseball happening, J-Mac?
So that's the second part of your original question you asked me about how I'm feeling about all of this. And I mean, I don't want to spend the whole episode just ragging on baseball, but I'm so angry at how this has gone because everything that's happened has been the opposite of what should have happened.
Yes. There's doing something right. There's just doing it halfway. There's doing something poorly. And then there's the MLB approach, which is to mess up every step of the godforsaken way.
Well, and not even necessarily that, is not even having steps in place.
Yep.
Like in the first place. We didn't even get that far with this.
So fill us in, because we are now 1 week away from our episode where we had Jimmy Midtown on, which, by the way, huge props to Jimmy for coming out last week. If you missed our prediction episode, go back and check it out. Jimmy's a total boss, and we're lucky to have him on any chance we get. But anyway, last week, Jimmy was on, but that was right after the story had broke about the Marlins players testing positive. And so the Marlins were the first team to have games postponed. The other team, was it the Orioles, also did, but just because they played the Marlins? The Phillies, that's right, the Phillies. So the Phillies also had games postponed because they had played the Marlins.
Right. And so they ultimately had, what was it, 16, 18 positive tests the Marlins did amongst their team. So that's well over half the active roster tested positive. So they haven't been playing in like a week. And
they're 1-2.
Pretty good.
We're like 11 games in, and the Marlins are 1-2.
I mean, that's not far off from where my team is, but we'll get into that in a little while, because that's just another, like, literally everything that could possibly infuriate me about all this has infuriated me. And it hasn't helped that I'm watching, and we'll get back to like the actual teams and numbers in a second, but like, it hasn't helped that I'm watching the NBA do this bubble thing. And like, my thought has been on that, like, isn't it just as dangerous to have everybody in one place if that thing were to get loose and then get everybody sick? Isn't it the same thing as like keeping it out versus letting it in? Like, it's just as dangerous in that case.
Yeah. And so theoretically, you're only as good as, like, what are we all going to do? Are we all going to stay on this submarine together, or are we going to be in separate, smaller submarines and hope that we don't collide? Matter of correction, I was wrong. Miami's actually 2-1, but I only was 1 game off. So anyway, not that big of a deal. It matters to them, but whatever. No, nothing matters.
We wouldn't be accurate, but so I'm watching all this, and like, I've seen this succeed, like, because they're taking it seriously. They're kicking people out whenever they leave and they break the rules. They're finding people. They're doing what they're supposed to do. And you look at like the on-court product, people are sitting apart from each other. People are wearing masks. People are, they're doing the press junket in and out of there as quickly as possible, as much over Zoom as possible. They're taking it seriously. And then I'm watching this abomination. And it's like, there is no protocol. There is no testing, because, the Great Sambino brought this up a couple of episodes ago, where we're in a situation where they decided, instead of mandating across the league, like the NBA's doing, they were letting individual teams decide. And we got to a point, I don't even know if we talked about this on the air last week or not, but we got to a point where the Marlins were the teammates were the ones that were deciding whether they should play or not.
Which is absolutely ridiculous. Insane. Because it if y'all don't remember anything else from this episode, and we even touched on it last week, but like underline it, underscore it, put an asterisk by it, whatever you need to do. They tested positive and then made the active decision to go play baseball. Like
against another team.
Argue or whether or not you think that we should, be playing sports in a pandemic at all. That's a great conversation that I would love to have with you. But I think we all can pretty much stay on the same side of the fence that you test positive. Don't be like, man, I'm good. Chug a tall boy and hit the ball field. Like, what a terrible idea.
Well, and further than that, like, I think we definitely touched on this last episode a little bit, but you've seen, like, the high-fiving and the hugging and the butt slapping and all this, and, like, all that's part of baseball. I get that, and that's fine, but, like, it's not fine right now, and, like, players are not taking this seriously. They're just not. And so all that happens, right? And so it's been an absolute cluster, and then the Cardinals show up.
Which you could just, like, put that as the title of a book, and it would probably be good.
Yeah.
And then the Cardinals show up. Are we talking about baseball? Are we talking about the seasonal bird in my backyard? Is this a murder mystery? Like, what all could be happening? But no. So last week, MLB was talking about, and Rob Manfred was saying, we got to take this seriously. I'm considering canceling the league. Like, what are we going to do? And he even told the players union on Thursday or Friday, he said, y'all better get this together or I'm shutting it down. And, he's acting all Theodore Roosevelt, carrying a big stick.
Mm-hmm.
Except he wasn't, because, as Justin so elegantly put it, the Cardinals showed up. What happened when the Cardinals showed up?
Well, and that's another thing before we get to that. Like, what? So I want to find his actual statement, because it was unbelievable. And it's the exact epitome of what got us into this whole thing in the first place. Hold on. I'm finding it real quick.
Yeah, because he's had a couple of really good ones lately about how he is pro, but also con. Like, it's like, pick a side.
Yeah, we are playing. The players need to be better, but I am not a quitter in general, and there is no reason to quit now. We have had to be more fluid, but this is manageable. Incorrect.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is the context is he said that like yesterday, which was Sunday. Before this, Thursday or Friday, he said, basically, y'all better figure this out. I'm going to shut it down. And then the Cardinals showed up. A ton of them test positive, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And that's when then Manfred jumps in and gives that. He says, we're not quitters. Like, what in about face?
But also, isn't that the stupid hubris that got us into this situation in the first place? By just pretending like, oh, we know better than a virus. We're stronger than a virus. We can take it down. That is not how that works. Not how it works.
I'm not a doctor, but I trust them.
Correct. Yeah, like I go to a doctor for a reason. I don't ask my, high school friend on Facebook from, like about health information. That's just not how any of this works. And like, you can't just bullnose past it and hope that it's going to get better and like put your fingers in your ears and close your eyes and just say, okay, well, we're doing this. Like, that is, I get that there's an actual amount of like stick-to-itiveness that you have to have since you did commit to this plan, quote, plan. I use that very loosely here, but since you did commit to playing, I should say, but like, they're just blatantly ignoring things. And Manfred's sitting there with his hands up like, well, you guys better figure this out. Versus the NBA, who's like imposing fines, who's looking into, what guys are up to and how they can, get people that may be at risk, quarantine them and get them back on the court quicker to actually help play. We're not doing any of that. We're just like letting teams test positive here and then just saying, oh, well, I hope we get this under control. It's unbelievable.
Terrible.
It's one of the most unbelievably terrible approaches I've ever seen.
Yes. And that's what makes the about face so much worse is he said we have to get it right. The Cardinals test positive. And then he's like, man, we're fine. Y'all are playing. I didn't raise a bunch of quitters. A ridiculous thing. What a ridiculous thing.
I'm going to read you. So into the Cardinals thing, I'm going to read you a little excerpt here from George Miller, he writes over at MLBRumors.com. He said the St. Louis Cardinals have multiple new positive tests for COVID-19. The exact number of positive tests isn't yet known. Actually, it is known by now. It's 18, by the way.
God.
The news marks the third consecutive day the Cardinals have discovered more than one new positive test result, with the team discovering as many as 5 new cases among players and staffs yesterday. Those results were accompanied by a number of inconclusive tests, so it's possible that positive tests today shed light on those unclear results. Because of the outbreak within the Cardinals organization, this weekend series with the Brewers was postponed.
Freaking National League.
Well, I mean, that doesn't even really matter right now.
No, but still.
Yeah.
I'm blaming them anyway, Jamie.
Right.
Don't take this from me.
No problem. I'm absolutely all about assigning wild blame when I can. I'm starting to see reports of Cardinals players having been to like strip clubs and like actual just like clubs, things like that. Like, you are letting the inmates supervise themselves here. Like, I don't know what Major League Baseball is doing. And so now the plan is, well, they put in some like, it's like a chief executive officer, like a C-suite type of person, but for like this testing stuff or like the safety quote unquote protocols. Like, this is a league that came up with 113 pages of protocols, but didn't have any kind of process for what's going to happen when a team actually tests positive.
Yeah, they let Steve from sales like come in and come up with their process.
Genius. You gotta love the moxie. But other than that, this has been an unmitigated disaster, and it's only going to get worse.
Yes, it absolutely is.
Because teams are traveling, teams are going into the hot spots of this thing. I mean, the Marlins were in the spot that they were for a very good reason, because Florida is one of the most dangerous places to be in the U.S. because of this thing right now.
Also, Gators.
Dude, people aren't talking about the Gators anymore, which that's another thing. That's scary too, because we don't have the public outside nearly as much. Those Gators are going to take over down there on just a reason number 17,432 to stay out of Florida, period.
Always.
But essentially, you're having like the Red Sox are supposed to travel to Florida this week. And I'm like, holy shit, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Why would you do that?
They'd be safer just taking the loss at home because they were going to lose anyway.
Absolutely, they were. My God. We'll get into that later. But it's not a good situation, man.
No, it's not. And it's hanging on by like MacGyvered together with duct tape, paperclip, and a prayer. Like, that's what's keeping Major League Baseball happening. And at this point, because you see successful restarts of damn near every other thing that's restarted from a professional sports standpoint, like, what a bunch of clowns.
Yeah, because they're just like, once again, we talked about this ad nauseum, really, and comparing it to the KBO and how they could take this seriously and how they could really put, be a leader in all of this. And they've done nothing but lag, and they've done nothing but show their ineptitude. I have been really struggling with and we've actually talked about this offline a little bit. I've really been struggling with my allegiance to this sport and my team because of some of this kind of stuff. This has put everything on display for the world to see of what I've been screaming about for years.
Yeah.
How dysfunctional this league is and how this sport is dying, and it's its own fault.
Completely its own fault. And it's not because of anything the old timers are going to come out and tell you. It's not because of the DH. It's not because of bat flips. It's not because of someone putting a clock on the pitch. Like, none of that is what's killing baseball. Baseball is what's killing baseball. And it makes me sad. Right. Because I've really enjoyed having the ability. It's a Tuesday afternoon. I can just turn on a game in the background. Like, it's really nice. We should be able to have it. But they're proving the stupid quote of "this is why we can't have nice things," because, like you said, we're letting the inmates run the asylum. Teams are policing themselves to try to say what they should and shouldn't do in order to stay safe, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And people are getting sick. Hopefully no one's had career-ending sickness at this point. But, I mean, dude, the whole thing's just ridiculous.
And what happens? Let me pose this scenario for you. What happens when the Cardinals play the Marlins? That's terrifying.
I mean,
you want to talk about multiplying factors? I mean, come on. But we saw one of the things that was sad to me is we saw the Field of Dreams game canceled because of this Brewers Cardinals thing this weekend.
oh, that's right. Because they originally were going to bring it back. It was canceled back in March, and then they postponed it, and then they brought it back. But now, yet another letdown of the Brewers and Cardinals.
It just doesn't stop. That's the worst part about it. And like the product of it all has been decent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sad part about this too. But I mean, we're especially when you're talking about how limited rosters are. It hasn't necessarily been decent for my team, but again, we'll get into that in a little bit. It is just, it's just not a good situation, man. So let me ask you this: do you see it going another week? Where, like, how far do you think this goes? Like, Sam is still under the impression that it's going on.
I mean, that's the thing is, if they were gonna, first off, if they were gonna cancel it, they wouldn't have started. But if they were gonna cancel it, you'd think that when you have outbreaks on multiple clubs in multiple cities who didn't play each other, that would be the straw, especially when your commissioner draws a line in the sand about what's going to happen. You would think that now would be the time. However, because Manfred needs to go see a doctor because he's clearly operating and existing without a goddamn spine, I don't think that it's going to get canceled. They're just going to keep testing, playing and testing and playing and chasing the almighty dollar.
So do you think that, is there any cutoff point? Like what is?
Yeah, the cutoff point is when players quit. Like, because there was a perfect example this weekend where Mets player Jonas, am I saying it correctly? Giannis
Cespedes.
Giannis Cespedes just straight up just went AWOL on his team, like peaced out. They didn't know what happened. He didn't show up, so they went and checked his hotel room because it was an away game, and he was gone. Like nothing.
Yeah, just out of there.
So what I'm saying is that A, what a beast. B, well, what a POS because he was on my fantasy team. Whatever. But what a beast because he was just like, no, this isn't worth it anymore. Like there is a risk to reward ratio in everything we do. You know, it's 10 o'clock and I'm craving a late night snack. Do I want to go out and drive, with potentially unsafe drivers? Is that worth my cheese sticks from Sonic? Yes. Probably not. Like, let me stay home. No, you're absolutely right. But still, every decision we make has some sort of a risk reward. And Cespedes, to his credit, was like, hell no, the reward of this is not worth what we're doing. And if we get enough people to say, this is dumb, then that'll be what it takes to where it'll be the final nail in the coffin for this season.
Sidebar, for what it's worth, this came out after all that because Jimmy Midtown sent it to me. Apparently there's a lot of confusion amongst the Mets. Shocking, I know, that he actually did let the team know, but just he probably gave it to what was the guy over in sales name? John?
Yes, Steve in sales.
Yeah, probably gave it to Steve, and Steve just passed the message along.
He told the Mets like mascot, but the mascot couldn't hear, and it was a mess.
Yeah, so he told them, but once again, there's mass confusion overall because players are starting to get uncomfortable with this. And I mean, this is a man that's played like 250 games and made like $102 million. Like this is like, he's a major player on that team. And it's kind of shitty because he has been hurt for a long time, but like, even so, like people are seeing the writing on the walls. And, I'll tell you, man, like there was another thing that came up that every time I see something like this, it just makes me want to vomit. This happened 2 days ago. I was browsing on Reddit, baseball subreddit, before I went to sleep.
First red flag.
First, second, and third problem, I know. And I saw this, and I rolled my eyes big time, and right after that, I put my phone down and I went to sleep. And I woke up to 4 people that had texted me this same thing. And it was literally just a short clip. It was the Dodgers were playing the Diamondbacks, and the Dodgers bench coach is doing one of those interviews, with the
Yeah.
thing where they do it in the dugout. And at one point, he pulls down his mask to cough into open air during this interview.
What?
Yes. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, are we even trying to take this seriously? And it really is astounding, man. Like, every time I see something like that, I don't even know what to say, really and truly.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's the worst. Oh, what a jerk.
Come on. What are you wearing a face mask for?
So, like, I kid you not, this weekend I was at the local grocery emporium and I had my mask on and I was getting my supplies for this coming week, and allergies blew in, man, and I sneezed right into my mask like 3 times. Felt terrible, but I didn't bring my thing down.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's the whole point of it. The whole point. And I'm sure it was just like a reflexive thing and not thinking, whatever. But that's the exact point, though. Is it just
supposed to think,
right? And there isn't it's exactly what we talked about with the Astros, the Red Sox, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There was not a culture that was set up for this to succeed, for us to take this seriously, or for players and coaches to actually take this seriously. It was not implemented properly, in which case we're dealing with a nightmare.
Oh, tip of the cap to you for throwing your own Red Sox under the bus for cheating.
Absolutely.
I know you don't always necessarily loop those two scandals together, but I'm happy to see you at least doing it in this conversation.
I don't care anymore. They can go to hell, the way I see it. I guess we'll get into that because we've been teasing that. Is there anything else on the actual like resumption of play front that you had?
I think we're good. I mean, unless that B on your head stands for Ben Baseball, I'm really interested to hear where this is going.
It always stood for Ben Baseball. So we talked about like the product of play and how everything has looked so far. And I'm going to make a proclamation here, okay? And I don't take this lightly. I've been watching this game. My first memory in life is watching this game, okay? And I've watched a lot of baseball over my lifetime. Makes me sound like some like old man,
Well, you are, but
no. I just like that. That's almost too good, right? No, but I have watched a lot of baseball in my time. And I've watched a lot of pitching staffs, a lot of hitters, a lot of different utility players, all that stuff. And to be real frank with you, I don't think that I've ever seen a pitching staff as bad as the one in Boston right now. They are the worst pitching staff I have ever seen. And that's not even just the Red Sox. That's period. That's across everything. It's the worst thing I've ever seen.
That's a bold proclamation. You want to expand on any specific holes in the rotation that you're noticing?
First of all, the obvious, Chris Sale's out. David Price was traded. Eduardo Rodriguez, who would be their third starter, has COVID, out for the year. And he also had other medical complications that made that, more prevalent. So he's one of those that's suffering for that. And good on him for coming out and saying all that and making that out there, because that's not something he necessarily has to put out there, but it raises awareness. So good on him in that way. And then everybody else, I don't even know who they are. I don't even know. They're just prospects.
Yeah.
One point last week, the manager said, Ron Renicky said, they asked him, do you really think that running like Martin Perez or whoever out there is a good idea? And you know what his response was?
Oh God, what was it?
Who else are we going to run out there? Pretty good.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I pulled up the ESPN power rankings earlier today, and I wanted to read to you what they said about Boston, because
Please.
I would love to poop on them, but I can't put it any better than this. So they have Boston ranked as the 22nd best team in the majors.
They're worse than that. They're so much worse than that.
And this is their quote. Look, it's too early to pull the plug on the 2020 Red Sox, but with Eduardo Rodriguez out for the season, this rotation is a Jackson Pollock painting. only without the supposed artistic value. One of the starters is Ryan Weber, who has 7 walks and no strikeouts in 2 starts. Matt Hall had a 5.3 ERA last year at Toledo. And then there's the offense. Rafael Devers didn't log his first RBI of the season until Sunday. Andrew Benintendi is walking but not hitting. JD Martinez hasn't homered. If there's ever a season to tank, this is probably it. End quote.
It's not great. It's really not great. I love the Jackson Pollock comparison.
Oh my God.
That might be the most apt thing I've ever seen. They are absolutely worse than the 22nd team in the league, though. It's definitely. It's not even really close. They are just in general so inept. And like I look at like this pitching staff that Chaim Bloom, the brand new GM, installed. And I mean, he had 2 marching orders when he walked in the door: trade Mookie Betts and get under the luxury tax.
Yeah,
that's all he was supposed to do. And so like this is the result of that. So I understand that this is kind of what you pay for, having championships and all that kind of shit. I get that.
Sure.
Like to sit there and look at Martin Perez try to get out of the second inning is the most unbelievably terrible thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I watched him as a Ranger, and your problem now.
I hope it's not my problem for any longer than
so.
that.
Here's the thing: is you said they're probably worse. Let's compare them to the team that at least is ranked right below them, the aforementioned Texas Rangers.
Okay,
3-5. Boston's 3-7. Who would you have against each other right now if the Rangers and Red Sox played right now? Who'd you take?
I mean, honestly, I haven't watched a ton of Rangers, so I can't really speak to like the eye test of that. But maybe the Rangers, honestly. Are we talking like a best of 3 games, or what are we talking about?
I mean, here I'm gonna take the counterpoint. Whether you give me 3 games, 5 games, or 7 games, I will still take the Red Sox for one reason alone. The Rangers don't have any bats.
It's true. That's true. Joey Gallo, that's about it.
Yes, you have Joey Gallo, everyone else, even Shin-Soo Choo, who's overpaid but still producing. No, like age is finally catching up to that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good guy.
Absolutely great player. I'd argue best major leaguer to come from Korea ever. Like I cannot think. Anyway, but I still would take Boston because at least you have bats. Like, and our inconsistent pitching versus your non-existent pitching, it would become a game of offense, and the Rangers have none.
It's true. I mean, that's definitely a good point. I really don't know, man. I know I'm probably being like, and I don't want to harp on them because it is my team and no one really gives a shit that much other than the Red Sox fans out there that do listen to the show. But I don't want to like kill them necessarily because it is just a punting year. They punted on this season long ago. Trading Mookie Betts was your punting on this season. And it's just tough to watch it. The most infuriating part about it, though, is that they have to get through October. They have to get through August 31st for this to even count as a reset to the luxury tax. So I may be going through this all again next year, too. Yeah.
If everything gets shut down. So if anything, you're rooting for the season to be canceled September 1st?
Yeah, sure. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. Whatever happens, dude. I really don't care.
Fair. Totally fair.
It's just one of those things. Like, to me, honestly, it feels like baseball isn't even really happening in a lot of ways. I've enjoyed watching baseball, but like I've barely looked at my fantasy team. I haven't really bought in because I don't think it's going to finish.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to convince myself to put a bunch of caring into something that doesn't matter at the end of the day.
It's like, why would I want to start a new series that I know is canceled after 3 seasons?
Right. The Yankees are incredible. The Dodgers are incredible. The Twins are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what we're looking at. It would be fun playoffs to watch all those teams go at each other.
Absolutely.
In just an absolute all-out brawl.
Well, and I would even argue that there are some teams who are sort of overperforming. Did you lose me? You got me?
No, I'm here.
Cool. I would even argue that there are some teams that are overperforming that I would like to see in the chase.
Like your Miami Marlins at 2-1.
I was going to say the A's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in love with the White Sox, but I think that this is a good year if you wanted to be a White Sox fans. The Padres in the National League are actually doing something, which is good. And then who's the team from the NL Central that was doing?
The Reds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what's, it's not that, yeah, absolutely. There's Yankees, Dodgers, maybe Twins, and everyone else. But the top part of that everyone else would be fun to watch. Everyone in the audience, you and me included, we're all just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
It's the shittiest part about it. But just please drop after August 31st at this point. Like, let's just get through that. That's all I ask. I just need at least 1 year out of this luxury tax situation. That's all I'm asking for.
It's like elementary school. You have a paper chain, and every day you just cut off another link. 28 days left or whatever.
Exactly. Has there been, you brought up the A's. Has there been any update on my cutout out in the outfield? Have you heard anything?
So I haven't heard anything with the exception of something that you shared. And I want to give this as a challenge to our listeners.
Okay.
The first person who's able to send us a screenshot of J-Mac's cutout is going to get a special one-of-a-kind Sensibly Loud prize and potentially like a Coke or a beverage of your choice sent to your house. I don't know what that prize is yet, so bear with me, but it's going to be worthwhile. So the first person who's able to find J-Mac, his cutout, is wearing a green shirt somewhere in Oakland. Find him. And then if the season continues to progress, we may give hints to where he's at. But to my knowledge, we haven't seen him yet.
We have not seen, I have not shown up yet. I have not heard, so I've seen the listeners looking for me. I've heard chatter about everyone trying to find it and tried to dig up different images and different little stills and things like that. Haven't seen a lot. I did, however, spend about 4 hours the other day trying to find myself through different PR pictures, through like the A's Twitter account and stuff, when they like pan the crowd and I'm like pausing and looking because I know where I am.
Yes.
I haven't seen it yet, but I know where I am. And so like I know generally kind of the space. Haven't quite found it yet. I found a lot of cats, but not myself.
Well, and also the cats, like they made them bigger. And like I said, the one thing in Oakland that was ridiculous was that someone took time to blow up a horse. Like the fact that there's a horse cutout in Oakland Stadium. So to our listeners, your first clue for finding J-Mac, he's on the first base side. That's all we're giving you right now. First base side, like I said, first person to send us a screenshot on social media. That's on Facebook, that's on Twitter, that's on Instagram, whatever you prefer. Send us a screenshot of J-Mac in Oakland in the stadium. Don't like go through his Facebook feed and find a picture of him and his wife like on an Oakland vacation. That's not going to count. We're talking about his cutout.
Yes.
And there will be a worthwhile prize.
Correct. I have to see proof of it. Ben Baseball has to approve of it as the commissioner of this contest.
Hold on. I don't approve of anything, but yes, absolutely.
You have to approve that it's an image that's worthy of an actual prize.
How's this? The goodness of your image will determine the goodness of your prize.
There you go. Because I am dying to autograph about 50 baseballs and mail them to somebody.
See, but if it's a bad picture, like we're going to autograph cheese sticks from Sonic and mail them to you.
See a theme here. I see a theme here.
Whatever. Like what I'm saying is it's coming down the pipe. Did I tell you that someone at work asked me for an autograph last year?
No.
They said, hey, like he found out I had a podcast and he goes, hey man, I need you to sign this baseball. And I was like, no one listens to us, man. Like we're three dudes with microphones. And he goes, no. This is the long game. Like in 10 years or 15 years, this will be the first Ben Baseball autograph baseball. And I'm so used to signing my signature. Like I had to think about how to spell baseball in cursive.
And the thing is, like, you and I have been saying this since like day one of this show too, that like we're in this, it's a long game type thing. We're here to wait everybody else out.
That's right. That's right.
Really
people will be like, oh, you have a baseball podcast? That's neat. How many episodes have you done? We're like 120. Deal with it.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, so we're willing to give back to the fans, find the cutout, send it to Ben or myself or the Great Sambino. Ben will approve it, and we'll go from there. So
also, because he's not on this show, Sam, you are not eligible to participate as a finder.
Agreed.
Okay.
I'm not mailing 50 baseballs autographed to Sam. I already sent him jelly beans and he threw them away. So Not happy about it. All right. Well, we don't put host in the POS corner, but I think we need to do a quick POS corner real quick.
Please do.
Ladies and... Nope, not the right one.
This is Paul Ramham from WBAT in Cincinnati. We interrupt this regular scheduled programming to bring you this breaking news bulletin. It appears that people have been called pieces of shit from around the globe. Baseball players in particular seem to be the main target. However, no person, concept, or universe is exempt from this cruel but very usual punishment. The perpetrator has been identified as the Great Sambino. Police have confirmed that he is still at large and about to take his piece of shit corner.
Ding, ding, ding. Huge piece of shit.
Alrighty, America. Let's talk pieces of shit. The Great Sambino is out, but I've got a good one for you, Ben Baseball.
Excellent.
We talked at the top of the show before we even came on the air about how we're not going to rag on baseball continually over and over again. But
it's been 40 minutes.
Been 40 minutes. Feel like I got it out of my system. Decided to be mad again. Okay.
Love it.
Now, the POS corner is very tricky in that we have some ground rules. We don't put the hosts in it. We try to keep repeat people out unless they truly deserve it. Unless you're like your Angel Hernandez, your Joe West, your Terry Collins, all these people that have been in it multiple times, they're pretty deserving of that. But we try to make it fresh and new every single time. This is hard to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm putting Major League Baseball in the POS corner.
Love it.
You ask why.
Did you ask why?
Actually?
Well, I have a few guesses, but I'd love to hear.
Well, this is just actually very, very specific to the lack of forethought into the 2020 season.
Okay.
So I'm going to illustrate this. So this is one shot where one of these situations where the actual video on YouTube probably helps people more, but we'll talk it out. I'm going to share with you what the standings look like.
Okay.
Now there's a reason I'm doing this, so just bear with me a second.
Okay. I'm super pumped because I have my POS in the hopper too for after we go through yours. I'm excited.
Okay. So ESPN.com showing the standings, Yankees first, Cubs, Twins, et cetera, win-loss, percentages, games back, home and away records, all this stuff, right? All the good information that we always look for whenever we look at the baseball standings.
Yes.
Do me a favor, will you?
Yes.
Pull up a web browser and share your screen with us and go to MLB.com.
Okay.
And let me know and I'll put it up on the screen for you.
All right. I am
MLB.com. Major League Baseball.com.
Okay.
.com. I don't know. Seems like a radio host kind of thing.
That was all right. Let's do
that was all right. Let's move on.
All right, here we go. We have MLB.com. Hold up.
Up there at the top, there's a nice little tab that says standings. Go to that standings tab for the 2020 regular season.
Okay.
Now, I want to show you something because 2 hours before we came on the air, I want to show you what this exact page looked like. Okay.
All right.
Blank.
Really?
Blank.
Tell me more.
I don't know. I don't know more. I don't know why this is happening. But what I'm saying is they don't even have the standings on their website properly.
That's perfect.
And I don't know if they just happened to notice this recently or whatever, but I immediately took a screenshot because, like I said, this was just a little while ago. I went to just to take a look at the standings to see what's going on here and where everybody's at officially. And I came into a blank screen.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
On Major League Baseball's website. So they're in the POS corner this week for not even having the standings on their website properly. Now, it's interesting that you were able to pull them up. That I will say that hurts my case a little bit.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. But I'm glad I took a screenshot of it. And I refreshed my browser, cleared the cookies, restarted my computer, Ben Baseball, to make sure that I was not seeing what I was seeing. And I saw it.
Tell me more about cookies. No, you're absolutely right. Like it would have been it's not a good look for your product. However, I do wish you wouldn't have taken a screenshot. You laid it all out there, and then I go ahead and pull it up and it totally works, because that would have been funny.
That would have been tough for the reputation.
That's
tough
great.
for the reputation. All right, so that's my POS of the week. Where are you at?
Okay, so mine is very specific. We've done concepts, we've done universes, we've done leagues, we've done people. We're going to go an article of clothing. Not just one, but a pair of something. Today, I'm talking about Bo Bichette's gloves.
Okay, say more.
So on Tuesday, that is to say 6 days ago, the Washington Nationals were playing an away game in Washington. The reason being is the Blue Jays were in town, and it was a Blue Jays home game, which is weird in and of itself.
Let's not even go into that.
But in the first or second inning, Bo Bichette goes up there with his bat, totally whiffs on a pitch, loses control of his bat, and it nails umpire Joe West in the side of the head. Like, we're talking Joe had to leave the game. There was blood everywhere. And it's not exactly what I was expecting to see on a Tuesday afternoon.
I would agree with that. It was definitely shocking whenever, you see Joe West just take one to the noggin. And we're known Joe West haters on this show. I actually set mine up saying Joe West is one of those people. But I don't think anybody necessarily deserves a bat to the head.
Correct. And let me give you the dichotomy. If I wanted carnage, I would have put on like a Lord of the Rings movie. I put on baseball and saw a dude take basically a club to the side of the noggin.
Pretty good.
I'm not blaming Bo Bichette because his name sounds like Boba Fett, which we've made that joke before. So he's fine, but he probably needs a new pair of gloves.
I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that.
And
all right.
For those that noticed, while we were in the segment, we were able to share, our good friend Mike sent us out just a super excited comment about baseball. Like, by all means, if you like what you're hearing, make sure to comment on social media. We want to interact with you while these things are going on. So thank you, Mike, and anyone who's commented in the past. I know Dan, I know Ivan. We've got a number of good, loyal grounds crew members out there interacting with us throughout the shows.
They're simmering. It's building and they're simmering. That's all I know. All right, good POS corner. Let's wrap that up.
Perfect.
Now, Ben Baseball, I have a surprise for you.
Okay.
I know you're a fan of history.
Ooh, I am.
So I want to bring you in this day in sports history, August 3rd, 1987, 33 years ago. Okay?
August 3rd of 87. Okay.
Yes. In Anaheim, there was a situation where an umpire ejected a twin starting pitcher after he was caught with sandpaper and an emery board from a nail file, which flew out of his back pocket when they made him empty his pockets on the mound in front of them like a 2-year-old.
He had to empty his pockets on the mound?
Yes, he did. Now, I know you want to see the video.
Oh, my God, please.
Give me just a second. It's fantastic. Fantastic video. I actually was not aware of this, and I was very glad that it happened to run across my timeline, and I was just kind of scrolling through Twitter last night and found it. But, man, it is unreal.
Well, he's 10-4 coming.
Go ahead.
So while you're pulling it up, I mean, we've had pitchers, like they'll have the Vaseline under their caps, but to have something just blatantly in your pocket is fantastic.
So here's the picture right here. So obviously the umpire sees something. I love the old school AL thing on his hat. So he throws him the glove. He's checking the glove. He's checking. Now you got the manager getting involved, yelling with the 70s style glasses on that look like something Elton John used to wear.
Oh, perfect.
And so they're really having it out. There's a real brouhaha brewing here on the mound. The fans don't look enthused about this at all.
No, not in the slightest.
They don't look happy. So now the umpires are going through. They're yelling at each other. They're arguing. They're saying, okay, I think he's got something here that's altering the ball. So now he's clearing his pockets out. You can see this here. This is better video content than audio content.
Oh, he threw it.
He threw it out of there.
Oh, my God.
Isn't that incredible?
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yes. So they threw
Look
him
at
out.
that smirk.
He
What
knew.
a fuck.
He absolutely knew.
Oh
so,
my God.
In that scenario, they essentially bagged everything up and went into like I guess there's like an umpire's room or something like that. They bagged everything up, the nail file, the baseball and everything. Actually, I'm going to reshare it here real quick because I think you can actually kind of see the nail file part. So they're kind of looking at like what's going on here, and they kind of have it in their hand there with the baseball. This is I'm going to tweet this video out of my account later. So everybody go check it out. It's at JMacSLM. You can see them bagging it up to go keep it as evidence for later.
Oh, that's phenomenal. And look, he grabs it. That one's good. Just do
There
the
it
flick.
is. Oh, you got to love the move, though. You got to love the attempt to try to throw it out of there without anybody noticing.
And then the homeboy in the Dockers is just like, oh, what's this I just saw you throw? That's perfect.
A nail file, I see, for maybe doctoring a ball.
Was it Nicro? What was his?
Necro, I think. Something like that. So
Oh my God.
he was... So then, you're going to love this, too. So the follow-up, okay? A few weeks later, he goes on Letterman, and he wears a carpenter's apron, and he was carrying a power sander.
So he's just got bits.
He's got bits. I love these owning the bit, but like going on Letterman and bringing a power sander with your baseball glove is an incredible move that you wouldn't even remotely hear people talking about now. We do have a question. How would you even subtly use a nail file while on the mound? If you could put it in your glove, you could definitely make something weird happen if you're, kind of going like that with it.
Yeah, like between innings, and then you sort of sweep it, like in your hand and throw it in your back pocket when, but like you're on camera, Holmes. Like,
right. You got to wonder why you didn't just leave it in the dugout.
So first off, this dude pitched. So I just looked him up. His name's Phil Necro. He pitched from 64 to 87. That's a 23-year career. And he's the last MLB pitcher to have both won and lost 20 or more games in the same season.
Wow.
With the 79 Braves, he finished 21 wins and 20 losses.
Wow. That's crazy. I wonder what happened.
Oh, wait a second. That says that's Phil and Joe. There's two of them. There's brothers. I could be wrong.
Oh, interesting. So this is Joe, actually, that this happened to.
Okay, so I looked up Phil Necro. How confusing.
I'm so glad that we've broken out Phil's career, though. What's Joe's career look like?
I'm pulling it up right now. Phil is the younger brother of Joe. First off, may he rest in peace.
Uh-oh.
Joe played 67 to 88, so still a 21-year career.
Impressive.
Career ERA a 3.59. Career record 221 to 204 with 1,700 strikeouts.
Okay, not bad. I mean, who knows how many balls he sanded down to make that happen? But
Man, 21 years in the majors. This is my favorite stat. And so the Minnesota Twins released a bobblehead set of their 1987 World Series team, which included him. His bobblehead included the nail file in his back pocket.
Hell yes. Hell yes. I love the ownership of it. I mean, he brought a power sander on David Letterman. That really speaks for itself at the end of the day, right?
That's fantastic. Who hasn't wanted to bring power tools on the Letterman show?
When Letterman was a thing, I would agree with you.
He's still on Netflix.
Yeah, it's a little different, but
it is very different. Yes, absolutely.
Well done. Heavily edited, though, which is kind of the worst because David Letterman is awesome. Anyway, I figured you'd be interested in a little tidbit of history there.
Absolutely. That was a baseball story I had never heard, and it got my brain thinking because when you talked about evidence lockers, it reminded me of a story. Now, I got to do my due diligence on it, but next week, I want to share a story involving evidence in a baseball locker and a heist.
Oh, a heist?
Mm-hmm.
I love a good heist.
And that's your tease. So anyway, it'll come to fruition next episode.
Yeah, and before next episode, I'm going to get like indicted on some sort of like, charge for robbing a bank, and they're going to have evidence of, me on YouTube and on the podcast being like, oh, I love a good heist, like.
That's right. That sentence will go with you to trial.
But if you find the cardboard cutout, I need to know about it.
Somewhere in Oakland, send us a picture. You will get a prize that won't suck.
Even if I'm in jail, I will make it happen. I will use my one phone call to give you a call.
To call you? Did you find it? Oh, wrong number? Okay.
Damn. Oh, that's not, Ben says it's not good enough of a picture. So
it's too grainy.
Yeah, too grainy, not good. So, so there's so I'm excited about this. A heist, huh? Can you give me a time frame, just a little bit? I know you haven't done like a lot of due diligence, it sounds like.
80s or 90s.
80s or 90s.
Within our probable living memory. Not living memory.
Have we done enough like digging into some of the seedy shit like this that's happened in the more recent past? We haven't really looked into that much, have we?
No, I think that anything is fair game, especially while they continue to be total jerks about everything.
I would agree with that. I think that we're about to have some time on our hands, and I think some look backs into. So we did do a look back into the 10-cent beer night thing a long time ago, which was a lot of fun.
Yep.
But I think that we should really kind of maybe do some deep dives on this stuff. So
absolutely,
I want to expose some crap going on with MLB that people didn't know about. So we're gonna get to that. I think that'll be good. What other notes do you have?
I think that's about it. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell a roto is in our fantasy league because not clear to me, but that's okay. I'm still just trying to be better than 7th.
Yeah, I'm just like my baseball team has done. I'm punting on this year almost entirely. So is Sam still leading? Is that happening? So Ivan was leading. I know that Sam took his place. I don't know where we are now.
Sam and Ivan have gone back and forth for the last little bit. So they've been kind of dueling it out while I watch from the cheap seats.
Me too, man, because I do not care about any of this season. I don't. It's not. We're not even scoring the league the same way that we usually do. So I just, not doing it. So, all right, let's go ahead and get us out of here, man.
Well, if you like what you're hearing, make sure to check us out. We are at sensiblyloud.com. Is that reasonablyquiet.com? Oh, no, sir. That's sensiblyloud.com. So check it out. Plus, we are all over your social media page. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on the good old Twitter. We have a whole slew of podcasts for you and your loved ones to enjoy, all part of the Sensibly Loud family. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe because that really helps us out a ton. And helps us to make more of these wonderful episodes. So it's kind of a nice little circle that you can be a part of. So big props to J-Mac for producing this and every other episode. He's the man behind the mixing board who knows what he is doing. Thank you so much. Wear a mask. Wash your goddamn hands.
Love the message. We want to thank everyone for tuning in for episode 120 of the Outfielder podcast. We'd like to thank all of our fans, Sensibly Loud Media, our sponsors, and those with a sharp eye to keep the runners close. Grounds crew, please keep patrolling that outfield. Big ups to Kevin Towers. Don't text and drive. We'll see you right back here next time on the Outfielder podcast.